Hey, and welcome to today's episode of Lead with Love, how to manage your emotions and get better communication and connection with your husband. Today, we have a very special guest. It's Dr. Gary Salyer. Hi, Gary. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Samantha? It's a privilege to be here.
Yeah, thanks. We had a great connection the other day. I was reading through your book, Safe to Love Again, loving it. We're going to talk about that. And I'm just going to give you a proper introduction. You're a
Cool.
transformational coach, relationship mentor, and you've been so for the last decade. And you have been on various TV and radio shows as Hay House Radio. Wow, amazing. Good job. So, welcome, Gary.
Well, thank you. And it's an honor to be here. Truly is, Samantha. I had a great
If there's
connection.
anything I've forgotten in the bio, tell the audience a bit about yourself and how you ended up doing this work. Give yourself a proper introduction.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've got a chance to speak across the country, but it's funny. This whole thing started when I was 7. It really did.
Wow.
When a kid in a dysfunctional family with a lot of alcoholics at a drunken party was just noticing how often my uncles got really mean with their wives. And then the wives got mean really back. And I remember thinking, why can't adults just love each other? Why can't they be nice? Like a lot of kids think, right? And so when I grew up and went to college, I was bound and determined that I was not going to be divorced like these people, right? And so I had these 2 majors, psychology, religion. In my senior year, professor calls me in the office and says, let's do this personality test. Did it, called me back in a few days later, and he gives me all the results. And the shock of my life was, he said, oh, as I'm walking out the door, by the way, you have a 90% chance of being divorced. I've told this story numbers of times, and I can still remember the shock of that statistic. So I delayed graduation, got another degree in marriage and family, and imagine my surprise when 10 years later, my first wife says, I want a divorce. And there's nothing I can do. Do 7.5 years of therapy. Think this time I'm going to knock this thing out. And so I get remarried, and there it is again. Within months, I'm watching this thing fall apart, and I don't know what's caused it. Go through a second divorce, do more therapy, do more workshops. John Bradshaw, whoever was at the time. And then I noticed the pattern is still there in my relationships. And one day after a painful relationship, I said, nobody should work this hard to have a lasting love and not have it. And even though therapy had done me a lot of good, I was just shaving and looking in the mirror and said, if they can't crack the code, then I will. It became my passion in life because people deserve a love that lasts. Not a 10-year. Nobody gets married to say, this ring is for 5 years.
So how long ago was this, Gary? When you were standing in front of the mirror?
This was about 15 years ago.
Yeah. Pivotal moment.
Yeah. And I devoted the rest of my life. The book comes out of that because after that, I had a pretty good idea when I was reading the research, when it was a really nice academic idea and when it would actually make a difference. And I started from scratch, throughout all the presuppositions that you normally get in any sort of training with psychology, and said, let's find out what works and really look for something new. And that's what I got in the book was, all that help never focused on what really changes one's attachment. I had tons of therapy. People try to give me skills, but nobody changed my core way of relating, called an attachment style. So
what was the big revelation? What was the aha that all the other people couldn't help you with?
A lot of psychology was about managing your pain. I can still remember my therapist, who did me a lot of good, saying one day, well, you're really depressed. And of course I was going through a divorce. She goes, maybe you go on Prozac or Zoloft or something like that. And it's okay to be on it the rest of your life, Gary. And I remember thinking, no. This is like saying I'm going to limp for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
right? And the big thing for me was when I realized that four core feelings tell you you're loved or not. I was from attachment theory. There's this little thing called the strange situation where they take a baby 10 months to 18 months old. So basically a baby that's only a year old, and they separate the mother from the mother. And by the way the baby reacts at the reunion, they can spot an attachment style that's either anxious, secure, or avoidant that early.
Secure or avoidance.
Mhm. So yes, a style of relating that will track for the rest of their life. The secure babies, when mom goes away, of course they get upset. When mom comes back, they calm down, happy to see you, mom, and they go back and play with their toys. They have a secure base. It's like they knew mom was coming back. Yeah, we don't like this, but mom's coming back. They had trust in that relationship. And then they're able, and from that trust of all that protection they know mom gives, they're able to go out and explore their world. The anxious babies, when mom comes back, they cannot be consoled. They are not used to knowing that mom will come back and stay. You never know when she's going to come back, is their experience, and you never know when she's going to leave. And so they are inconsolable. And they hit mom and they're angry and they want to cling, and they do not go out and play with their toys. They are clinging. These become the anxious. Where were you last? How come you didn't text me? It was whole 10 whole minutes. Do you still love me? Right? They're extremely drama filled. And then there's the avoidant babies. The avoidant babies kind of know, mom took off. No, interesting. And they continue to play with their toys. They look precociously mature. But what it is they don't think mom, they've gotten used to mom not being there or dad not being there. It's not just about moms, but they did it later and had the same thing track with dads. But in the original, it was moms. And they are not, they play with their toys because they seek distance. Their worst nightmare when they grow up is not when does love go away, but when does love stay? They're afraid of depending. And they're the ones that grow up. So if they play with their toys when mom comes back in the room, they'll be the ones on the video games when their wife is saying, can we connect? So these
that's interesting. They're not the ones saying, when will love go away? But they're wondering, when will love stay? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. That makes complete sense. So it's the opposite of having something and being afraid of losing it. You're actually having nothing, wondering whenever you'll get it. You're like from an empty space.
Their worst nightmare, Samantha, is depending on someone or being dependent upon. Now, it's true that some avoidance can be in a long-term marriage or a relationship, but they will be dismissive emotionally or distance. They do not like being dependent on or depending. And they have a flight response, whereas the anxious have a fight response. And neither of those do much good for love. You need that place where you can depend and be depended on, and you have trust and you give trust. That is the holy grail. And what I asked is, what tells a 1-year-old baby to be that trusting? Well, it couldn't be identity, couldn't be limiting beliefs like we hear all the time, couldn't be skills. There's only 4 things that can tell what that's up and running for a 1-year-old baby. Feelings, that's it. If anybody's dealt with a 1-year-old baby, that's all they got is feelings. They don't walk up and say, this is who I am.
Do you think it was born in the baby, or would develop from 0 to 10 months?
Attachment is not genetically engineered. It is all based on how the interactions is between the baby and the caregivers, otherwise known as mom and dad.
So even when they're only 10-month-old, it's already been wired into them from the first month, whether they'll have a fight or flight response.
Yes.
Trust. Okay, interesting.
And my thing was, how do you rewire? See, we don't want to say that, oh my God, I lost it when I was 2 or 3 and I can never get it back. No. Well, whatever those 4 feelings are that tell them will tell us too. And the feelings are, those babies got welcomed with joy. So glad you're here. They got welcomed into the world. They were treated worthy of their needs. They were cherished and protected, and they were given empowering choices, powered with choice. All those secure babies got 4 feelings. And if we can restore those feelings in ourselves, then we can reclaim a secure love style, because everyone that's anxious or avoidant, and this is proven out not only by my own research, but tons of clients. Every last one of them have at least one or two or more of those missing feelings. I'm not worthy, therefore I have to marry a taker. I'm not empowered, therefore I have to lose myself, or I have to find a dominator. Then the marriage doesn't work or the partnership doesn't. It's about reclaiming these four things and feeling them, not just thinking them, not knowing you deserve them, but feeling them.
What's the four feelings, Gary?
Welcomed with joy, worthy and nourished to have your needs met, cherished and protected, and empowered with choice. If you're out there listening, think of any relationship, whether you're a date or a relationship, and ask 1 to 10, how welcome with joy do I feel in this relationship? How worthy to reach out for my needs? How cherished and protected? Meaning you get to be a me in a real we. And then how empowered with choice. And I guarantee you, if anything's under 7, something's wrong. And if you've got 1 or 2 of those missing, you're in a bad relationship. Not a bad, 1 could be makeable, but 2, you're asking where your therapist is, and 3 or 4 are toxic. It's easy to know if you're in a good relationship. People have all these check off lists. They go through mental gyrations. Check with your heart.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel? Those 4 are the goal.
How do you reprogram if you were feeling unworthy and that's inside of you? How do you?
Okay. So underneath that is a feeling of unworthy, undeserving. It's not safe to reach out for my needs. And nobody takes away, and it's, you don't have a right to have your needs met. And you have to, the framework is that your brain took the best deal available,
Mhm.
So no part of your brain is wanting to screw with you. It wasn't safe to have that feeling. Maybe if you reached out and cried and your mother or father, I once had one of the clients in the books, every time he cried in the room, his dad would beat him. Was it you crying to get your needs met is pretty much how you have your needs met. So he learned, I can't have my needs met. It wasn't safe. It's finding out what flavor of safety they need, and then tie that flavor of safety to the feeling so they can have what they want.
Hold on. So could you repeat that again?
You have to find out what they want. I want to reach out for my needs and find the flavor of safety their system was seeking the moment it took it off the menu.
The flavor of saving that I was needing as a baby, if it was me, the moment
Yes.
I decided to take it off. So there was some need,
Yes.
probably food at that age, or touching maybe.
Yes. So for him, he needed to know that his system was saying, if I reach for my needs, I'll get beat.
But how do we know as a baby what needed was back in when we made that decision as a baby that it wasn't safe to reach out? How would we know what needs we needed at 8 months old or 3 months older?
Well, when you step into that young baby, what baby deserves to get beat by a father? They need to know.
But
You just give them, you can go back and do the deep work and help them rework that fear that if I reach out, I'll get beat. Or if I reach out, I'll get shamed. Or if I reach out, they just won't respond. There's different flavors of why we don't reach out. And we have to help their brain realize that that was then, this is now, and to find out what they need exactly. It's really deep work. It's very specific for each one. And then you imagine, you can have them, it's not just imagining, but you have to give them the feeling that it's okay to reach out again in whatever flavor that they need it. It's an art form to do the deep one-on-one work. But the point here is that we have a birthright, Samantha, to feel welcome, to feel worthy, to feel cherished and empowered. And if we can feel those feelings, because when you feel worthy, you don't find takers. You don't date with them. If you feel empowered, you don't lose yourself, or you won't put up with a dominator. That's the feelings direct us. And then from there, we also have to give some skills, because it's important to give and receive these feelings. So you do we give back the rights and the feelings, and then we give back some skills. And then people can have what's called secure love style. So they pick and choose people that can love them back versus always pairing up with an anxious or avoidant. It's important. And they can show up secure themselves.
Really, really interesting. I had a big aha moment about the time that you make that decision, because it is a decision that you make. You may be very, very young, but you actually make that trade off.
Yes.
Then you go back somehow and you decide a different thing. You decide that it's okay to reach out.
Well, like for me and my own, I had a borderline mother who was violent. By the time I was 4, I realized it was better to be up in my room playing with the astronauts and landing rockets on a bed that I would mess up and make craters in so we could land than to be in the kitchen. The kitchen is like, that's what a we is for a 4-year-old, right? So, but if you're down there, you could get thrown against a wall. So what's better, to be separate or to belong? It was way better to be separate. So I didn't get a really good right to separate and belong. I never felt cherished and protected. Better to be by myself. So what becomes online is distance equals safe.
Is that what happened in your relationships then?
Nobody, yes, exactly. I did all this mental stuff and did all this, mental reprogramming uh, uh, in my degrees and all that stuff, like undergraduate. But little did I realize that when I was up studying by myself, being a super student, and my wife would say to me, my first wife would say, "Gary, I feel lonely."
Yeah, you were
And
up.
what do you mean? I'm in the house with you. I was doing a replay of the same thing, except I was, studying for my master's or my doctorate. And I never got that some part of me was very subconsciously always seeking separation.
Mhm.
Oh, some form of separation. I didn't have a really deep right to feel cherished and protected. And as much as we loved each other, that wore on the relationship. Now, notice that my way of solving the problem as an 18-year-old was, let's do more study. Let's do more. and it wasn't more study. The very answer I sought was the very thing that would be the downfall. And nobody could track the feelings. Nobody found out that, oh, wow, you're seeking that old safety pattern. And everyone on the planet, we get locked into some old safety pattern. And then later on, we still run it, not thinking it's not 1986 or 96 or whatever it is. And couples do that especially. The moment something gets triggered, they run their old safety patterns. Most couple fights are 2 5-year-olds trying desperately to protect themselves from an old wound way back there. And those 5-year-olds are seeking protection, not connection. They don't use skills. You can teach the couple skills, but the moment they get triggered, they go back to their wounded self, and then their adapted self comes on and says, no, you're not the boss of me. And you get all sorts of things, or they withdraw, or they amp it up. And if we can give singles these feelings, they choose better. If we give couples these 4 feelings, they relate better. It's real love is giving each other in a luxuriant amount, welcomed and worthy and cherished and
Give
empowered.
somebody that feeling.
Well, okay, so you can wake up in the morning and say, "Good morning, gorgeous. Good morning, handsome." When you walk in the door, you make eye contact. You don't start looking at this.
No, but if you're by yourself.
If you're by yourself, how do you get, you welcome you. Well, okay. I was thinking in relation now. You have to, for the feeling of welcome with joy is, the world is my cozy oyster. I feel like I know I have a place here. I have a right to exist here. That's that feeling. Now, all of us had a little hit of that lately with COVID. Okay, we got that. But that's a little, but it's where the world feels safe and I have a right to be here. I can be in my body and not just my head, right? Worthy is, it's okay to reach out for my needs and ask and expect an attuned response back. And if you're in a loving relationship, you can give that. You're tracking each other, and they're learning what your needs and preferences are and your patterns. And you don't have to say it 15 million times. They're interested in making sure you feel worthy and nourished. Cherished is where they see an essence in you that they can't find elsewhere. There's something in, if you're out there listening, you or like Samantha or me, that when they love you, They can't get that elsewhere. This, the way you sing in the shower, the way you hum, or whatever it is, right? The way your little foot comes across at the middle of the night. These are very earthy things, right? And so they want to cherish that and protect it. And that means not showing up in triggered ways just because you got upset. You don't have a right to blow up like Vesuvius. You protect them for that. Say, honey, I'm upset. Let me go away for 20 minutes and I'll come back a different person and we can find out what we need. And then empowered is just sharing influence. You know, do you share influence? Do you actively help them, you know, reach their dreams? So you're supporting each other's dreams. If you feel, if that's showing up in a relationship, you're welcoming and worthy and cherishing and empowering, that's a good relationship. A little alignment, you're doing good.
I love those 4. My new mantra.
Yes. Yes. Welcomed, worthy, cherished, and empowered. I even have my couples check in with that on, especially the first part. Hey, you know, scale of 1 to 10, how did I do as your spouse? And if they say less than 9, you say, okay, what feeling was missing? This really blows men out of the water. What do you mean as for a feeling? Yeah, find out the feeling and then find out what caused that feeling and what you can do better. You're after the feeling. Well, honey, oh yeah, I was on the phone. So you come in, oh, I'm not on my phone, honey. Well, is that the same thing as welcoming? No, welcoming is like, gosh, honey, the look on your face, you look like you had a bad day. Come over here and get a hug and tell me about it. Now that's welcome.
I love that. I love the way you imitate. It's great.
You know, guys walk in and go, well, I put down my phone. That's not the same as welcome.
Yeah, one would think that that should come naturally, but that we can also be at the forefront and create a feeling. We don't have to sit and wait to feel it. We could actually, you know, give it to ourselves or give it to our partner the way that they feel that that's love and welcoming, because it may be different. So that
You
was
know,
inspiring.
if you're out there, I mean, I practice these with everyone. Even if I go out to Whole Foods, I always will notice the name badge and say, you know, like, thank you, Kate. Thank you for checking me out today. And I might even say, and for being a hero during COVID and being here on the front lines. That's a little worthy. You know, I always try to give everybody a little welcome, a little worthy.
That's such a beautiful habit. And so, yeah, inspiring. Gary, thank you so much. I was really deeply touched by this. It hit a lot of things for me. And I hope that whomever listens with us today is equally as touched and moved and inspired. And if they want to go deeper with your work, Gary, you have a free gift for the audience.
I do. I have a guide to lasting love, Dr. Gary's Guide to Lasting Love. You can go to GarySalyer.com/love guide, LOVEGUIDE, and you get to pick 3 versions. One for if you're single and not dating, one if you're dating and can't find the one, and one if you're a couple. So it will be tailored, a guide to finding and keeping lasting love.
I'll be promoting the link, so don't worry if you didn't jot that down.
Oh, yeah.
Going to come out with the interview. I'm very, very keen on everybody watching with us that they choose at least one expert and go deeper with them and try their work. So we don't just sit and watch, we take action, because we have a birthright to a great relationship, and we definitely have the capability and the choices. And here is all the help from 21 experts, or 22, whoever we are, how many we are, myself included. Don't retract, reach out when you need help. We love to help you. That's why we're here. So I hope it's good for you as it was for me. Thank you so much, Gary. That was really wow. I knew you were good, but it was just really, it's what I needed to hear. And it was very well.
You know, you've helped me feel worthy. You reached out. We're supporting each other. That's you know, a beautiful thing. And the last thing I'd like to say is there's almost an epidemic of unworthiness out there these days. Dating sites give it to vast, a lot of things going on culturally. And you have a right. You were born worthy. You were born worthy of these feelings, these rights. Don't let anybody tell you any differently. And I just want to say thank you, Samantha, from the bottom of my heart, for being the beautiful soul and light for love there in Denmark. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gary. And we can give it to ourselves. We don't have to wait. Start ourselves right now. So that was what really landed for me. Thank you so much, Gary. Thanks for being on the show. I can't wait to hear how it goes with everyone trying your free gift and listening from the audience and getting feedback on how great it's been. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Tune in tomorrow. Thank you.